welcome to Climate Fact File, your go-to program for the clear insights and actionable solutions on climate change and its impact on our world. And I am Ife Onyekwere, your host and guide on this journey to understanding the challenges we face and the opportunities we have to create a sustainable future. Now together we'll be unpacking all the practical steps we need to take to protect our planet. Now, like I always say, climate change is not just about the challenge. It's actually a way we need to start rethinking the ways we actually live, we work, and how we can actually grow effectively. And for this reason today, we're considering the topic forest and food security. Now, this is to commemorate the International Day of Forests 2025, and the theme for this year is forests and food. And interestingly, I won't be doing this alone, as I have two amazing guests in the studio here with me that will be doing justice to this show. Today, I have Ntiedo Ekot, who is the coordinator of Agriculture and Food Security Project of CJID, that's the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. And I also have Dorcas Nikano, who is the Program Assistant and Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation. Great to have you two in the studio. All right, so who's going to go first? Ladies first. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Ife. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me in the studio today.
Amazing. All right, so over to you. We're not leaving you out, even though ladies first, but
all right.
How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm good. Thank you, Ife, and I'm excited to be here today.
Great. All right. So with my two amazing guests, we're going to be having conversations around the topic before us, forest and food security. And these are two individuals from reputable organizations that are really doing so much around not just journalism, but also around food security. So there's a lot to learn from this conversation today. And interestingly, you can actually join the conversation on our social media platforms. We are People's 105.5 FM, and you can actually send in your text messages or call in on 0911 222 1055, or you can reach out on 0911 112 1055. Now it's time for Climate Countdown, where we move into the most urgent and impactful news around climate change.
It's time to care. Indeed, it's time to care about our planet and the earth we all share. Climate Fact File has the key to build a world that is completely green and free. Climate Fact File has taken a stand to learn the truth, protect the land, deal with the rising seas, ensuring cleaner skies, clean energy, and turning darkness into light. Climate Fact File is your one-stop shop for everything climate, including environment, waste and waste disposal, indiscriminate use of plastics, activities of oil and gas companies, gas emission, pollution, land management, rising sea levels, bush burning, flooding, desertification, and more. This is a call to action, as every voice matters to save the earth. It's in your hands and it's in my hands. Climate Fact File is for a brighter, greener, and a better future. Let's keep it alive. Join me, Ife Onyekwere, every Wednesday from 11 a.m. on People's 105.5 FM. Climate Fact File remains our present reality. People's 105.5 FM is all about you.
Nigeria reaffirms commitment to industrial decarbonization. Experts say Nigeria agro-waste holds economical potential. Climate change threatens to fill Earth's orbit with space junk. The federal government of Nigeria has reiterated its commitment to reducing greenhouse gas and carbon emissions in the country's industrial sector. Speaking at a recent stakeholder workshop on the National Industrial Decarbonization Program NIDP in Abuja, Malam Balarabe Lawal, Minister of Environment, pointed on the need for a low-carbon economy to drive sustainable industrial growth. He noted that while industrial activities contribute to economic development, they also significantly impact climate change, making the adoption of cleaner technologies and resource efficiently essential. The initiative aligns with Nigeria's net zero emissions targets by 2060 and aims to enhance environmental sustainability while maintaining industrial competitiveness. A research expert, Professor Lateef Agbaje, has highlighted Nigeria's competitive advantage in converting agricultural waste into economic value. Speaking in Abuja, Professor Agbaje, who heads the Nanotechnology Research Group at Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, emphasized that millions of tons of agro waste from cassava, groundnuts, cashew, and rice could be turned into bioenergy, animal feed, and nanomaterials. In his comment, he stated that advancements in biotechnology and nanotechnology support a zero-waste approach which could create new industries, reduce environmental pollution, and contribute to sustainable development goals. He added that by leveraging these resources, Nigeria could boost its economy, reduce imports, and generate income for farmers. A new study from an international institute of technology warns that climate change could drastically increase space debris, reducing available satellite space in low Earth orbit by up to 82% by the end of the century. Researchers explain that as greenhouse gases cool the upper atmosphere, it becomes less dense, weakening the natural drag that usually pulls space debris down to burn up upon re-entry. And that's it on Climate Countdown. And to my amazing guest, is there any of the news that got your attention and you may want to react to?
This was prior to the conversation we were having about
Right.
briquettes, right?
Yes.
So the research by Professor Agbaje, right, where he said convert agricultural waste to other materials. That's the angle I was coming from. If you notice, he mentioned bioenergy first, and that's where the briquettes come in.
That's
so
right.
I believe this is beginning to gain traction, and a lot of people are having the knowledge or the information about it. So I believe if more awareness is created,
yes,
briquettes could become the new charcoal, and then we'll reduce our dependence on cutting down trees for charcoal.
Amazing,
so
amazing. All right, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I'll go where you mentioned how this can contribute to food security in the country.
Yeah.
So, like forests and food, they are much connected, and we know without one, you cannot have one. If one is not there, there must be a problem in the food production. So, and this forest plays a bigger role in mitigating the impact of this climate change. So, if we don't have enough trees, environment in our farmlands, there's a problem to our soil. So, we'll experience soil degradation, and which will affect food production. So,
amazing. Thank you so much for that contribution. Now, if you're listening to us, this is People's 105.5 FM, and we're discussing forest and food security on the show Climate Fact File. I believe at one point or the other you've heard the word forest before now, even if you're living in the city. I'm sure you must have encountered forests. You've been to the forest before, or probably something took you to the forest. One way or the other, if you are a Nigerian, I don't know if you agree with me, but I know I've been to the forest before. Don't ask me what I was doing there, right? So, but one way or the other, we've always had activities. It's either you're actually passing through, or you're going for an outreach in a rural community, and you have to pass through somewhere, and you're wondering, how did I even get here? But that's actually the route to where you're actually going to, right? So I believe we've actually encountered or come across the word forest before. And for International Day of the Forest, the theme for the day is forest and food, and that's why we're discussing forest and food security, because food security is a big deal for us. If you like food like me, really, I think we need to have this conversation. We need to know what's the nexus between forest and food, and how does this impact us as a people, right? So it's something that we're going to be discussing for the show today. We're going to go on a break right now, and When we come back from this break, my amazing guest here will be doing justice to the topic before us, and you can also share in your conversation if you've had experiences, or probably you're living in an area where you feel it's almost impossible for you not to, fell trees down because you feel like this is the only option you have to get charcoal or something. I think the answers to your questions and your worries are all here for you to have a chat. So we'll be right back.
It's time to care. Indeed, it's time to care about our planet and the earth we all share. Climate Fact File has the key to build a world that is completely green and free. Climate Fact File has taken a stand to learn the truth, protect the land, deal with the rising seas, ensuring cleaner skies, clean energy, and turning darkness into light. Climate Fact File is your one-stop shop for everything climate, including environment, waste and waste disposal, indiscriminate use of plastics, activities of oil and gas companies, gas emission, pollution, land management, rising sea levels, bush burning, flooding, desertification, and more. This is a call to action, as every voice matters to save the earth. It's in your hands and it's in my hands. Climate Fact File is for a brighter, greener, and a better future. Let's keep it alive. Join me, Ife Onyekwere, every Wednesday from 11 a.m. on People's 105.5 FM. Climate Fact File remains our present reality. People's 105.5 FM is all about you.
We inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the People's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
All right, welcome back. It's Climate Fact File on People's 105.5 FM, Abuja. And we are doing this to celebrate the International Day of Forest 2025, which, the theme for the day is forest and food, and that's why we're discussing forest and food security. We have two guests in the studio who will be doing justice and enlightening us on this subject area. We have a guest from Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. We have Intiedo Ekot, who is the Coordinator, Agriculture and Food Security of CJID. We also have Dorcas Nikano, who is the Program Assistant and Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation. Great to have you two again in the studio. I have a question here. We need to understand from the basics first. Why are forests important to us in the first place? Why forest? Because somebody might be wondering, why are we even celebrating? Why is there an International Day for forests? Yeah. So this is where you come in. Why are we celebrating forests?
Okay. Thank you, Ify, for that question. Let me just give us some interesting facts about forests, right? So forests cover about 1/3 of the Earth's landmass. And it provides essential functions globally. This is not just a Nigeria thing, it's global. And then about 1.6 billion people, including over 2,000 indigenous cultures, they rely on forests for what? For their livelihoods, for food, for fuel, for medicine, for shelter. You can begin to see the importance forest has, right? And then forests also house a lot of is a home for biodiversity, right? And then you can see that it has a lot of ecological importance, social importance, health benefits, and all. And then you now wonder why there's deforestation. Like, if forests have so much importance, so much benefits, why are people cutting down trees? Why are trees depleting? I've just mentioned it. Forests provide all these benefits, right? It gives us direct food. You can get fruits and various kinds of foods from the forest. And we're talking about climate change now, right?
Yeah.
It plays a very key role in mitigating catastrophic climate change. How? By absorbing carbon dioxide. So facts have it that forests and forest soils, they absorb about 3 million tons of carbon dioxide. To put this in perspective, a ton is 1,000 kilograms. So imagine 3 million. That's how much carbon dioxide the forests hold. So I think this can just give you a little insight to how important forests are to us.
I'm going to go over to Ntiedo right now, but before I ask, I'm coming over to you for the breakdown you gave us, the importance of the forest, like for biodiversity, for our foods and all like that. I'm going to come back to you when he's done to simplify it.
Okay.
Like this is what we actually use these things for.
Okay.
Right. The reason why we actually advocate for forest and people not buying into the land space is this is how would we be affected directly or indirectly as a people. Now to Mr. Ntiedo, could you please give us elaborate why forest is important to us?
All right. Thank you very much, Ife. Let me put a little context to this for this the International Forest Day.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we have this year's theme, which is forests and food.
Yes.
It's very important, and we know the current situation of food in the country right now. So we can't talk about food without forest, like I mentioned before, forest without food.
Yes.
So it plays a crucial role in our life, environmental sustainability, economic development, and human well-being. These are important. Forestation is important in our life because if we want to talk about the benefits, the gains we get from forests, let's say the direct gains, we get nuts, fruits from trees, and which are very important to our livelihood. And talking about the indirect benefit we have from forests, soil fertility, it helps in growing our soils. It helps to cover the soil from the direct impact of climate change. Yeah. So this is very crucial to food security in the country.
When I was making the introduction, I talked about every one of us having a contact with the forest one way or the other, and you just mentioned something about the forest preserving the environment from the direct impact of climate change and all that, like that. I realized that when you go to areas, because I said even if you've not gone to, because if you tell someone you went to a forest, they'll ask you what exactly did you go to do there. But now I'm saying there are times where you need to get to some rural communities and you really literally have to pass through a forest. I know what I'm talking about. This is not really it's somewhere I've actually been to, Nasarawa State. You literally have to go through a forest to get to this community, and people are really living there. And I noticed something about that community. When you pass through the forest and everything, and then you get there, because you can't even use a car or whatever to get there. You can't drive past there. You have to trek, and this is really a long distance. And then you get there, you notice that the atmosphere is different from the place you're coming from. You really want to be there, but then you're like, you're actually facing two things. Like, how can I be here? But the environment is really not like where you actually came out from before you passed through the forest to get there. Exactly. So I think I can relate to what you actually said about forest preserving, the environment from the effect of climate change.
Exactly.
So on to you. We're going to talk about some of these things and how it really impacts us directly, like how this thing, because if we're having this conversation, the goal is to ensure that those who are listening to us can understand what we're talking about, right? Sure. And they can really practicalize this. So how would you simplify it to this set of people to really understand what we're actually saying?
Okay, that's
yes, talking about the impact of the forest on the environment, on biodiversity, on our food, and all like that directly.
Okay. All right, thank you for that question. Speaking on biodiversity, deforestation obviously will lead to biodiversity loss, and this means you're disrupting the home of various species of plants, of animals and insects. You're causing them to not have a home. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's just like what climate change does to us when flooding happens. You get displaced, right? So deforestation is doing that to those various species that live in the forest. So this leads to species loss. I'm sure that a lot of things of plants or animals you heard about when you were much younger.
Honestly,
but you no longer see
exactly.
them, right? So that is what deforestation does. It causes such species to go extinct. And then another thing it does, we said it's a direct source of food. So definitely if you're cutting down trees, deforestation leads to loss of food, because we're talking about foods and forests.
Yes.
The forest is a home to a lot of various species of food. And then there's another aspect of agriculture which is called agroforestry. Yeah, so agroforestry is an agricultural practice where you cultivate in the forest. There's forest and then there's agricultural activities going on at the same time. So this is just to show you how much the forest can help for providing food for man. So if you are cutting down trees, if deforestation is taking place, this cannot happen, and this will definitely disrupt the supply of food that we have, which will go back to link to what he was saying about the food price hike.
Yes.
Prices of food keep going high and high because people are going through a longer length to produce this food. The places they used to get it easily,
Honestly,
the forest,
let's even
they used to get it
you know,
easy.
honestly, let's not
So
even
now
go
they
far.
need to go the extra mile to get this
cost
food.
of snail. The cost of,
Exactly.
when we were growing up, I don't know if it's just relating to me, but when we were growing up, you could literally see snail in.
And
Do you understand?
And that's exactly what Dorcas referred to.
Do you get
some
now?
of these animals could go into extinction, and you will not see them again. So this
See what we're doing to
is
ourselves.
a major problem. It's a major problem.
This is really what we're doing to ourselves.
It's as a result of human activities, urbanization, agricultural
Exactly.
expansion, mining, which is a
Yes.
major problem. So most of these forests are being destroyed. For example, the flooding we had last year in the northern part of the country, like close to at least 30 people died and millions of properties were destroyed as a result of flooding. And these are problems that we are facing every day. It's a result of cutting down of trees, urbanization, pushing forest inside and
Exactly.
bringing human activities.
Because interestingly,
Yeah.
again, forests act as barriers for flooding.
I was going to ask that.
Exactly. So forests also play a role in that. They help in mitigating flooding.
Flood.
Yes.
So the
erosion.
flood that should have, come out with force would have been held by.
Exactly.
by trees.
Wow, I think there's a whole lot for us to really do as a people, because it's important that as we're having this conversation and you're listening, it's important that you actually also spread this information. You really take it seriously, because giving an example of this snail I just mentioned, if you go to the market and say you want to pick 10 snails, it will cost you a whole lot. This was something way back that even people were rejecting, but right now it's just they're
It's
just
a delicacy.
right?
It's a delicacy.
And people
An expensive delicacy.
I'm telling you, these are things that naturally we should be seeing around us, but
Yeah.
too
But
much
it's not,
of
it's not common again.
it's no longer
It's not common.
And even the ones I really don't know the name of this thing, but it looks like snail. It has a very hard cover at the front. When we were growing up those days, I used to see that thing, but
I think it's in that family, oyster.
Yes, it's in that family, but
Yeah.
I've never seen it anymore since. It's just like it disappeared or something.
That's what we're talking about. Species are
Honestly.
going extinct.
All right, let's go on a break right now, and then when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. It's still People's 105.5 FM Abuja, and we're discussing forest and food security. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still People's 105.5 FM, and we are discussing forest and food security, and we have two amazing guests in the studio here with us doing justice to this conversation. Remember, you can join the conversation on our social media platforms at People's 105.5 FM. Before we went on that break, we were having a conversation around human activities that is actually making biodiversity, that's having an impact on biodiversity. And I really want to, ask this question, building up from that conversation we had last. Now, Dorcas, there are many indigenous communities that rely on forests for food and livelihood. Like, this is not because they want to, but that's just that's the only thing available to them. Yeah. Now, can you highlight some key based, some solutions that can actually, be helpful to these people? We were talking about charcoal the other time. It's not because some people really want to use them. This is actually not eco-friendly, but in what ways can we ensure that these people who probably are living in the rural areas can actually thrive without doing damage to our forests?
So, first of all, they don't have the information, right? They do not have the information. That's why they're they are cutting down trees in this conversation we're having to use as fuel, right?
Yes.
So if we're being honest, now we need to be realist, right? As much as we're advocating,
that's right.
As much as we're advocating for afforestation, we also need to be realist, because a lot of these people, like you earlier mentioned, this is what is available to them. This is what they can afford. But what we can do is, first of all, to create awareness for them to have this information, and then you can also give them tips, or give them tips or educate them about the right way to use even these fuels that they want to use. So there's a thing now where if you want to cut down a tree, although it's not well implemented, but it's something that can be followed up on.
That's right.
If you want to fall a tree, you have to plant at least 5. So now, if you can put that kind of policy in place,
yes.
So we need to go down to policies as well. We need to advocate for policies that will put these measures in place and ensure that they are implemented, so that even if the common man last hope is to use firewood or charcoal, there will be a way for it to be done sustainably. That is a key word, for it to be done sustainably. They can cut down. I'm not saying trees should be felled, but for the cases of these rural people that do not have any other hope, they can't afford gas. They can only afford firewood and charcoal. You advise them, you educate them on how to fell trees sustainably.
Amazing.
So that is coming from a realist angle. We need to be realistic. These are people that cannot afford, like I said earlier. So yeah,
let's talk about the impacts of, because when she was talking, she highlighted that some of these people are not aware. Now, coming from the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, how well do you think we've gone in, as a people, not just your organization, how well do you think we've gone in ensuring people have understanding, or get to know about what the effect of climate change is, and even as regards forest and food impact? What do you think is the perception of people around issues as this? Because the truth is, if people do not understand, we'll keep talking and it will look as though we're just making noise. Yeah. So how about do you think we've gone in ensuring that people have understanding about this?
All right, thank you. I think that's the more reason why we have this International Day of Forests. It's a day that we emphasize the role of this forest in our environment, not just food, in our everyday life, environmental sustainability. So it's a day that, just like Doka said, we have to do more sensitization on the role of forests in our lives. Let me use life generally so that it will connect everything. So we have to speak about this. We have to share on social media, on anywhere we can talk about. First of all, let's look at this impact. What are the impacts? Definitely we will have less rainfall.
That's right.
These trees and these forests will help to regulate this impact of climate activities. So we will have less rainfall, we will have poor soil quality, and we have extreme weather events, and we have food shortages. These are the impacts of this when we don't have enough trees and forests in our environment. So what can we do to mitigate all this? I think we have to speak about crop rotation for farmers, for sustainable farming activities. The farm we used last year, we can skip that this year and move to another one, just to help the trees to grow and help the environment and to help the soil to be more fertile. There's a high call for crop rotation and tree planting. I think tree planting is one of our activities that we'll observe this year. We'll go to different schools, speak about the importance of trees, plant trees. These are things that we've been doing over the years. My colleague can confirm that. We've been doing that, and we'll speak to school students the importance of this and the need for them to plant trees in our environment.
Wow, amazing. All right, so we're going to go on a break right now. Great loads of information right there. And when we come back from this break, we're actually going to get or listen to what people on the streets have to say about what they think is the relationship between forest and food. And I know that Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation has been doing some movement lately around food security. So I think that's something we also need to look into because it's forests and food. This is People's 105.5 FM, and you're listening to Climate Fact File here on your station. It's all about you, and that's why we're bringing you matters that affects every one of us. Yeah. So right now we're going to the street to listen to the voice of people, what they think is the relationship between forest and food. So the question we actually asked them is, what relationship do you think there is as regards forest and food? Let's hear what the set of people have to say.
Relationship between food and forest. Well, I feel like the forest is a source of food for wild animals and forest life in general. We get fruits and other food from the forest, and then as humans in the forest, in those days, hunters go to the forest to hunt for bush meat and other stuff. So basically, the forest is a source of food for humans, and animals in general. So that's what I know to be the relationship between food and forest.
I don't think that there's relationship between forest and food though. The forest that I know is no food that used to be there, just like big trees that can be used for wood as firewood, or processed wood that can be turned to paper, like all those baby kind of trees, but food, that means that one is farm now. It's not forest again. It have turned to farm. But the real forest that I know is those big trees that can be used to process papers, process wood, used as firewood, tissue, all those industrial kind of woods and all. That's my opinion.
In my own opinion, I feel forest is very, very crucial when it comes to food production. Forest serves as nutrients, it serves as vegetation, even help us to protect our animals. So aside even helping us to protect and giving us food, we also use forest, the trees in the forest, as charcoal to make our food. And charcoal is very, very important with the rising cost of gas and other things now. So therefore, the relationship between forest and food is very, very important and crucial.
So we just heard the voice of the streets. It's really amazing that people can answer these questions. When we started this show, Climate Fact File, sometime last year, when we get to ask people questions like this, they're like, I don't, they just go blank, like, what are you talking about? What's climate change? What are we saying? But right now, it's great to know that people can really, answer these questions, and because it's all about the people. We want to know what exactly they are doing, and that the impact is also getting to them. So from the conversation, Ntiedo, is there something very special you want to point out from their reaction?
Okay, thank you. I think the first person mentioned, he said forest provides food for wild animal. On that, I want to say that is true, but it's not just the wild animal. Mm-hmm. It's for we, the human beings, and also the wild animal. Because like I mentioned initially, we have the direct benefit of that forest. We are talking about in terms of fruits, nuts, and even mushrooms. Mushroom grows on trees. So that's a direct benefit. So it's also provide food for we human beings and also the wild animal. And the second person said it doesn't really know whether there's a connection between forest and food. That's why they should listen to programs. So definitely there's a connection, and there's a connection in any way you want to look at it. There's a serious connection on that. So that's my comment on that.
Amazing. All right, Dorcas.
Okay. I was going to say the first thing he said, but then I think I really want to comment on the person that said she only sees big trees. She doesn't see them as source of food. She only thinks they use them for industrial purposes. But if you're listening to this program, please know that forests serve as a source of food for humans as well, both direct sources and indirect sources. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Great. So if you're listening, ensure that you're not just also listening. That's the goal of this conversation, because I tell people every time we talk about climate change, if we do not get to relate with it, at the end of the day, it's just a waste. But because we do not want to make this a waste, we are calling on everyone listening, join the conversation, ensure you ask questions. Our social media handles are there on People's 105.5 FM, and you'll be attended to. Yeah. So before we went on that break, I said something about what Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation is doing around food security. I want you to tell us if this encompasses activities around indiscriminate activities around forest areas, because I know that the organization has been doing something around food security, and there is an act around that, an act that a lot of people do not know about, but people are beginning to, thanks to the organization who is beginning to, making this relatable to people. Now, does this encompass, the indiscriminate use or the indiscriminate activities around forest area?
So, like you rightly said, we're currently advocating for the implementation of the Right to Food Act, which was passed into law by the former President Buhari 2023. So we are creating awareness about that for all to see food as a basic human right and not just a need for humans. So to answer your question, we're not directly working or
canvassing for
forest. You understand? But then we're hoping that days like this are with continuous advocacy and awareness creation, people will get to see or understand the importance of leaving forests as they are. Just let them be.
Just let them be. No, seriously. Just let them be, because it has its benefits. So every time you pass through the forest, don't look for a way to try to manipulate something there. That's the way majority of people think, why is this space just here? There needs to be,
be something.
Exactly. So some areas should just be talking about that. Now, this same place I'm using as an instance, this same forest in my head right now, I'm using as an example. I remember the first day going to that rural community, and I was just making suggestions to someone that, why can't there just be this here? Why can't they just... And the person said, if there were all this or so many things are already here, I'm not sure people would have been coming here to, relax or do whatever they wanted to do. There are some places that, just like you rightly said, should just be the way they are. Seriously. Over to you, Ntiedo. Organizations like Nigerian Conservation Foundation, even the National Council on Climate Change, are working on forest conservation. How do you think more people can support these efforts? How do you think people need to support it? People who are listening to us right now are like, okay, now I understand what forests mean to us and how it's actually impacting us or impacting the climate, right? And the positive things about the forest. But now the activities that organizations are standing out to do, right? So how can the, in quotes, common man come to support some of this agenda? You don't necessarily have to be the one at the forefront. You don't necessarily have to have an NGO. So when we are having discussions like this, and someone who is listening is saying, I'm just a teacher in a primary school, or probably I am a banker, right? Or probably I am something else. I'm a technician or how can these people who are regular people, the everyday Nigerian, actually join force to ensure that they're supporting efforts made by organizations?
Thank you very much. I think on this particular question, the first thing is to understand the role of tree in our environment. Let us not just say forests, because forests might make it look like a very big environment. Let's start with trees. Let's understand the importance of trees. So once we understand that, everybody should advocate for tree preservation. We have to plant trees, and we have to protect trees around our environment, around our houses. I understand I've been seeing people cutting down trees just to put houses, put things, they don't need trees. I don't think that's fine. So we have to plant trees and protect the already trees, hard trees, in our environment.
All right. How would you react to that? What do you think people need to start doing differently? to ensure that we are carried along, even if it has to. I don't know why volunteering is coming on my head, but what do you think people need to start doing differently to ensure that we're actually supporting and pushing this cause? Because if we have more people pushing for a cause, the results or the impact will be more than if we have just one or two people, advocating for a cause. And what are they doing? They're saying climate change. What's going on?
So exactly, building on what you just said, it's difficult, it might take time, but this goes down to behavioral change. When people start seeing it as their business, when people start seeing the conservation of trees or forests as their own business, they'll take it serious, because everybody takes their business seriously. When they stop seeing it as, it's not my responsibility, it's the government's responsibility, it's the NGO's responsibility, when they start seeing it as their own responsibility, then they'll take action and they'll act right.
Have you faced challenges? Ntiedo, you mentioned of some of your activities around going around planting trees, supporting the ecosystem. Do you think there have been major challenges you faced even from the people? Because I've had some guests come into the show and you hear people say, we go to these communities to plant trees and they're asking you to pay them. That's actually a challenge, yeah? So have you encountered something similar, or have there been any challenges in ensuring that our ecosystem is actually fine from your part of contribution?
I will say definitely there are some challenges, but I will not relate it to the monetary part of it. Let me say the few challenges we experience is the nurturing of those trees we planted.
The sustainability.
Yeah, the sustainability of those trees. For instance, the ones we planted last year, going back this year or following up on those trees, you will notice that the people in that environment that we said, please take care of these trees so that the tree can come up, they will just abandon it. They will just leave it. So just pouring of water for the trees to come up is a problem. I will say those are the few challenges we encountered. We haven't seen anything like paying money before you plant in our schools or in an environment. So
have you faced any similar challenge?
Like you mentioned, can agree with me, that's a general challenge with growing of trees. There are a lot of projects, even by the government, about tree planting, and one of the major challenges always those trees do not see the light of day. As they are planting, as the ceremony is over, so is the life of the tree. As they are turning their backs, so is the life of it, because the people that are left to take care of the trees do not see it as their problem, they do not see it as their responsibility, like I said earlier. So they don't take it serious, they don't nurture those trees.
There needs to be a solution, as regards this. There needs to be a solution to ensure that we're not just, because if this kind of activities happen in 1, 2, 3, 4 areas, and because I don't know about you, but when I first came into Abuja, it was trees that actually brought me here.
Wow, that's interesting.
Honestly,
trees are going down.
Exactly,
Definitely,
trees are actually
going down.
reducing.
Yeah.
Because I came for an office leave from Lagos. You know what it is like living in Lagos.
Yeah.
Then you just came for a short holiday, and you're like, wow, what's happening here? Trees everywhere cool, everywhere, and then you now mistakenly get to that Jabi Lake area. Do you understand? And then you're seeing these things. These are things that really attracted people. But then after a while, you're noticing that it's depreciating. If you say people are not really sustaining this, then there's a problem. Then there has to be solutions. What do you think we should be doing to ensure that we can actually sustain this?
I think there must be a policy regulation on this.
If we say policy regulation, those people, they will tell you, we don't owe you anything.
They'll say it's their land,
exactly.
And then we need to cut down trees and build houses.
We're even giving you our land, and you are telling us policy, really?
Yeah. So
I'm a Nigerian. I know how this thing works.
So I'll circle back to what I said earlier about its behavioral. Right. When you keep sensitizing them, you keep creating awareness about the importance of trees, importance of forests, and people begin to see it and own it, then I believe there'll be a change. Yeah.
Great. All right. So we are coming to the towards the end of the show. I want you to, in one sentence, to tell the audience, how, talking about behavioral change, how they need to start reacting when it comes to issues about the ecosystem. Yes, we're celebrating forests and food, and we have seen that there's a nexus between the two, and also even for the animals in the forest area, so that these animals do not keep disappearing. We'll keep asking, where are they? But Our activities are sending them away, yeah? So what do we need to start doing as a people to encourage our ecosystem?
Let me say like this, like in a sentence, like protecting forests is not just about saving trees. It is about securing our food, water, and climate stability. So everybody have to, all hands must be on deck. We have to protect our environment. We have to plant trees, and we have to protect our trees.
Great, amazing. That was a shot. Who did you shoot it at? People in Abuja or people outside of Abuja listening to us. Amazing. Thank you so much. All right. So what statement would you have to say to people listening right now?
Okay. So, like you rightly said, the conservation of forests, the sustainability, they are essential for ensuring the long-term food availability. So we all have to play a role. You don't have to see it as someone else's role. You don't have to see it as a government's role or a CSO's role or your boss's role. You need to see it as your own role that you play for the sustainability of our environments.
Amazing, great. For the sustainability of our environment. And you're not doing anyone a favor. It's our collective.
It's our collective effort.
You guys really shot this thing very well. Whoever you're sending it to, I'm sure they actually got it right. Thank you so much. And unfortunately, we have come to the end of today's episode of Climate Fact File. And I want to thank our esteemed guest for gracing my studio today. Thank you so much, Ntiedo Ekot. Thank you. He's actually from the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, CJID. Thank you so much for coming. And also to the beautiful Dorcas Nikano, who is the Program Assistant and Monitoring and Evaluation Officer at Global Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation. Thank you so much for gracing my studio here today. And many thanks to the executive producer of the show, Charles Carlo. Remember, climate change is not just a future challenge, it's a present reality, and each of us has a role to play in shaping a more sustainable future. Remember, small actions today can lead to big changes tomorrow. So let's take what we've learned and apply it to our daily lives. Join me next time for Climate Fact File here on People's 105.5 FM Abuja. I am Ife Onyekwere, and until next time, bye.